I want to thank you for joining us. I'm Suzette Jordan. Last year, the Greenville GOP began this interview series to introduce you to local Republican candidates. This year, we're continuing our interview series to hear from elected officials and other Greenville Republicans. Today, we're here with Christopher Bourne. Chris spent the last 4 years as a member of the Trump administration at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Welcome, Chris. It's great to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much, Suzette. Thanks.
You're our
thanks
first interview
Oh,
this
great.
year. Tell us a little about yourself.
So, Suzette, I started as a Marine officer, 28 years as an infantry officer.
Wow.
Saw service in Afghanistan and Iraq. Left the service in 2010, and we moved to Greenville about a year later in 2011.
Okay.
In 2016, I joined Ben Carson's presidential campaign, which was my first foray into politics. As you know, serving officers don't do politics besides encouraging our troops to vote and voting ourselves. But I joined the campaign providing some assistance in policy areas, primarily focused on national security, and then had the opportunity to move up to the national campaign as national director for policy for the entire campaign, which was an eye-opener for me, as I said, my first political foray.
Wow. Dr. Carson was through Greenville several times during that campaign in 2016.
That's right.
So
And I was behind the scenes helping him to prepare for some of the events here and preparing for the debate that went on here in town.
Okay. You, after the campaign, you joined Dr. Carson at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and you were Deputy Assistant Secretary for Innovation. So what did you do in that job? What does the Department of Innovation do?
Right, so that was a brand new initiative
Okay.
for the department. I initially went up there in the area of policy as a senior advisor in research and policy for the secretary. And you might recall 2017, we had a lot of events where we lost housing. We had hurricanes, we had wildfires, we had earthquakes. We lost a lot of housing in 2017, and Secretary Carson was asking a lot of questions about what we could do to reduce the impact, what we could do to on citizens and their communities, what we could do to reduce cost, to help improve resilience. So after 4 or 5 of those briefing sessions, I asked him if he thought we needed someone to look at home building and construction, resilience, and those issues full time. He said yes, and I came back to him with a proposal to create the Office of Innovation.
Okay. How did you bring that together with Senator Scott's opportunity zones?
Oh, wow. Well, there's a lot of work behind the scenes just to get the office started.
Okay.
It took about 2 years. It took an act of Congress to get authority to establish the office. And we set the initial mission of improving and innovating on HUD programs, interacting with industry and the public for new ideas, and looking at construction methods and materials to improve affordability, resilience, and health of the housing stock. So those were our initial calls. And then the Secretary threw at us, about a year after we got started, the Envision Centers initiative, which was an initiative that he started to help improve the use of poverty programs to help folks to actually not need assistance from the department in their housing. Okay. So, and we tied that to the opportunity zones because I saw and we saw that whereas the Opportunity Zone tax incentives was about places and things, it was about businesses and real estate. We needed also to take some initiatives that would help the people who lived and worked in and around the Opportunity Zones to be prepared to take advantage of the increased economic activity that was going to be affected by the investments.
Okay, so I guess you answered my next follow-up with an act of Congress. This is something that this office department will continue with the new administration?
We hope so. We certainly
Okay.
hope so. That the administration could decide to go in a different direction, but I think we established a pretty strong track record in a short period of time, and we're able to show the department how important it is to have an office that can focus specifically on large-scale problems within the department that cross sort of organizational lines. Many of the things that we worked on you had to cross silos in order to get things done. And looking at them strictly within their own silos, it was never going to happen. So you needed somebody who was focused on doing that.
Okay, so we're Republicans, and the question right now, since the election, is where do Republicans go from here? I know Sunday at CPAC, President Trump said no third party, and I agree with that, so no third party. But locally, we've got people who are discouraged, people who are angry. We've got people who are eager to get involved for the first time. What are some things that you see that we could do to unite Republicans and to grow the Republican Party locally and even nationwide?
Well, that's a great question. And I have to start off with saying that I agree with President Trump and with you that the idea of starting a third party is probably not a good one. It would divide our forces in the face of a pretty well unified Democratic leadership. The leadership, at least, is very, very well unified.
Yes.
So he was at CPAC, and CPAC is a great event for sort of evangelizing, particularly to the next generation of conservatives. But we need to take it one step further. Republicans need to recognize where the battle is fought, and we need to organize ourselves to start operating there. And that fundamentally is at the state and local levels. We need people who are ready to step up for city and county councils, for school boards, for positions like that. That's where you make the next 2 or 3 generations of conservatives. Just think about what's happening in the schools right now. Perhaps not in South Carolina or in upstate South Carolina, but across the country. We need good, solid conservatives on school boards to make their voices heard in what's taught to the next generations.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are you doing now?
So a couple
Since
of
you came
things.
home.
Since I came home in January, one of the things I started on a volunteer position, working as a board member for the National Center for Healthy Veterans. That's a startup organization that's just getting going. They've established a farm in Alta Vista, Virginia. That's the western part of the state, to provide a year-long resident program for veterans who are suffering from PTS or from other traumatic injury, to help them to recover, to rebound, and return to their communities. As I said, it's a faith-based curriculum for that year, and just getting started. You can find the National Center for Healthy Veterans on Facebook and on Twitter. And I'm also looking forward to my next adventure. So I'm looking for an opportunity here. In particular, I'd love to be able to help in the upstate and to help our great state of South Carolina go forward.
Okay, maybe you could consider running for office.
I could consider running for office. This is basically how I ended up working for Secretary Carson. Is the funny story there, I shouted at the TV, and my wife said, "Hey, you need to stop shouting at the TV and do something about it." And I would say, for folks who are out there shouting at their TVs, yep, you need to stop shouting at the TV and go do something about it.
You want to give that website for the veterans?
Let me make sure I
group?
get it right. So it's healthyveterans.org, healthyveterans.org, or at Healthy Veterans NCHV, National Center for Healthy Veterans, on Twitter.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks very much for having me.
Great interview. President Trump on Sunday encouraged people to stay involved, and Chris tonight has encouraged us to get involved. On March 22nd, that's a Monday night, the Greenville County Republican Party will have our reorganization process, which is precinct reorganization. We meet in small groups across the county, and we elect precinct officers, and we also elect delegates to our county convention, which will be held in April. So I encourage you, go to our website, greenvillegop.com, and you can find out all the information about reorg, and we would love to have you come out that night and get involved with our party. So thanks again for watching.